Hey guys, welcome back to lecture series on statistics. For more videos guys, check in my I button or you will get my entire playlist in description box. In my today's video guys, I'm gonna explain to you all kurtosis, okay, which is from the important topic from the statistic, okay, mostly asked question in your SPPU question paper, okay. So let's get dive into our today's lecture. I'm gonna explain to you all what is actually the meaning of kurtosis, okay. Yes, so kurtosis means actually it is pronunciation, it is quite complicated guide, but not that difficult concept. It is quite easier. If you just take a little overview on the concept now, you can easily understand that one, okay. So the meaning of a kurtosis, okay, kurtosis, it's not difficult, we can pronounce easily, okay. Kurtosis means the measure, okay, the measure of a central tendency, dispersion and skewness, okay. We still cannot have complete idea about the distribution, okay. So observe, okay, so I'm going to draw one curve here that it can be easily define the meaning. So I drew here one graph guys, okay, for understanding the meaning of kurtosis, okay. Now see that here we have three curves. First it is the C1, second one is C2 and third one is the C3, okay. So we have three curves given here, so we can observe these curves, okay, which are the symmetrical about mean, okay, which the three of these curves, these are the symmetrical, okay, that means they are symmetrical about the mean and have the same range, okay. Have the same range means they have same value from the range. You can see that their range of these three curves, it is completely same over here, okay. So these three curves are having same range over here, okay. Yes, so therefore we should know about the flatness, peakness of the curve, okay. So we need to know how much these curves are flat, okay. Now see that this curve look little more flat, okay, this curve look little lesser flat, and some curves are having peak point also, okay. Peak point means the curve is having one end, there is a something end, we call it as the peak curve, okay. And whenever we go down as over here, we get the flat curve over here, okay. Now see that this C1 curve, it is a flat, C2 it is a more flat, okay, but C3 curve it is very less flat, okay. That means it is having some peak points, okay. So these curves are having some peak point. Now see that what we are learning here for the kurtosis, we are trying to find the flatness or peakness, okay. Okay, let me write flatness, flatness, okay, flatness of the curve, flatness of curve, or peakness, okay. So peakness means the peak point, every curve is having peak point like means not every curve, but the curve is having peak point means that point curve smaller size of the flatness it is available, okay, or very less flatness available, okay. Let me write P. Okay, so we have to figure it out which curve, whether which curve having flatness of or peakness, okay. So peakness means this one is a peak point, so these are the flat curve guys, okay. I hope you all have understood the meaning for the flatness and the peakness, okay. Yes, so we find flatness or thickness of curves in a kurtosis, okay. Yes, kurtosis means convexity of a curve. Convex, you all have learned guys, convex curve, okay. So convex curve means the all point which lies within the domain, okay. So we call it as a convex curve, okay. So kurtosis means it is convexity of the curves, okay. So kurtosis is the measure which gives idea about the flatness and peakness, okay. So kurtosis, what it does, it gives the idea for flatness. What it does, it gives the idea of a flatness of a curve or peakness of curve. So now see that there is a lot more detail and data given here for this one, but you all just need to understand what is the flatness of curve and what is the peakness of the curve, okay. Yes, that is flatness and peakness of the curve, okay. So it measure by coefficient beta, okay. It measure, kurtosis measure, so I'm writing it measure by it measure by kurtosis. Okay, by the coefficient of beta. Okay, consider it as a beta 2. Okay, beta 1 it is already we assigned in my previous video, so that's why we consider it here is the beta 2. Okay, beta 1 we consider coefficient for skewness. Okay, in my last lecture, so we consider here coefficient. Okay, measure of coefficient as a beta 2 for our kurtosis. Okay, yes, and beta 2 can be found by, so beta 2 it can be found by, okay, mu 4, okay, mu 4 divided by mu 2 bracket square. Okay, mu 4, mu 2, all these values we learn guys in the skewness of the curve. Okay, so these are all value we have there. Okay, okay, so or we can write beta 2, this one is the coefficient of kurtosis. Okay, yes, so we write beta 2 gamma 2 as a gamma 2 can be written, this one is gamma. Okay, so gamma 2 can be written as a beta 2 minus 3. Okay, so measure by the coefficient of a beta 2, we can write mu 4 upon mu 2 square, or gamma 2 is a beta 2 minus 3 over here. Okay, see that this is the way we can write. Okay, now see that here especially we have three types for the kurtosis. Okay, so any curve can be divided into these following three types. Okay, yes, it is quite difficult to pronounce, right, but more easier than its pronunciation. Okay, let me write these three topics here, sub types of the kurtosis. So here guys, I written first point here, mesokurtosis, also called as the normal curve. Okay, mesokurtosis also called as the normal curve. Okay, now see that what actually the meaning of a mesokurtosis. If we take geometrically, you can see that a C1 curve over here. Okay, C1 curve we have here, it is a neither having peak point like a C3 or nor having flat shape like a C2. Okay, so we call it as the C1 is the mesokurtosis or normal curve. Okay, the simple meaning for mesokurtosis, the curve which neither have peaked point like this, the curve which neither have peak point like this, nor the curve like this flat shape. Okay, nor the curve like this flat shape. So C1 it is the mesokurtosis. Okay, let me write the meaning of mesokurtosis, the curve which neither okay, the curve which neither have peak point. Okay, neither have peak point or nor flat curve. Okay, the curve which neither have peak point nor flat curve. Okay, so here in our figure, C1 is the mesokurtosis. Okay, C1 is C1 is the mesokurtosis. Okay guys, so see that we have C1 here. C1 it is a neither flat nor peaked, so C1 it is the mesokurtosis here in our diagram. Okay, yes, so if we take mathematically, we write beta 2, is a 3. Okay, so we write beta 2 is a 3. That means whenever beta 2 is a 3, so gamma 2 obviously goes to 0. Okay, so I consider here beta 2 is a 3, so gamma 2 obviously 0 here. So why I consider beta 2 is a 3? Now see that guys. Okay, if the curve is a flat, okay, the curve it is a neither flat or nor have peaked point. Okay, neither flat nor have peaked point, so we call peak point, then we consider beta 2 as a 3. Okay, so if a beta 2 is 3, then gamma 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so this one is the mathematical form that we can understand the mesokurtosis. Okay, I hope you all understood the meaning of mesokurtosis. See that the figure guys, and their description. If you want, you can write it down. Okay, so we go for the next type. Okay, next type for the kurtosis, it is a plateau kurtosis. Okay, PLA. Okay, PLATY, plateau. Okay, PLATY kurtosis. Plateau kurtosis. Okay, plateau kurtosis, we have second part as a plateau kurtosis. Okay, now let me explain the meaning. Okay, what is mean by plateau kurtosis? Okay, the curve C2. Now see that curve C2 we have here. Okay, this curve C2 which is a flatter than curve C1. Okay, that means the curve C1 is a mesokurtosis. Whenever we have mesokurtosis and another curve C2 which is a flatter than that mesokurtosis, okay, we call it as the plateau kurtosis. Okay, now see that C2 curve, it is here the plateau kurtosis. Okay, the curve which is a flatter than C1 we consider is the plateau kurtosis. Okay, so we write here C2 is plateau kurtosis. C2 is a plateau kurtosis. Okay, so in my graphical language we understood what is mean by plateau kurtosis. Okay, that means the curve which is a more flatter, we call it as the plateau kurtosis. Okay, C2 is a plateau kurtosis. Okay, that means C2 curve which is the flatter than C1, plateau kurtosis. Okay, yes. Mathematical, we can say beta 2 need to be a smaller than 3. Okay, if beta 2 is a smaller than 3 here, that means obviously gamma 2 it goes to the negative. Okay, gamma 2 it goes to the, now see that beta 2 it is smaller than 3. Okay, what I am taking here, beta 2 is smaller than 3, obviously gamma 2 it goes to the negative. Okay, then we write gamma 2 which is smaller than 0. Okay, gamma 2 I write here smaller than 0. Why? Now see that beta 2 is smaller than 3 over here. Okay, so we know that gamma 2 can be written as beta 2 minus 3. Okay, beta 2 minus 3, that is the value for gamma 2. Okay, yes, so beta 2 it is smaller than 3, so if I take smaller than 3 as a 2, okay, 2 minus 3 is a minus 1, obviously it is smaller than 0. Okay, so we write this gamma 2 which is a smaller than 0. Okay, in the form of plateau kurtosis. Okay, and third point C we have left here. Okay, it is the leptokurtosis. LEPTO guys. Okay, leptokurtosis. Leptokurtosis. Actually we call it as the leptokurtosis curve, plateau kurtosis curve, mesokurtosis curve. Okay, actually these are the types of curve. Okay, now let me explain leptokurtosis here in this diagram. Okay, yes, the curve C3, curve C3, it is a more peaked than curve C1. Okay, then we can call it as the C3 as the plateau kurtosis curve. Okay, yes, curve C3, okay, is leptokurtosis. Curve C3 is a leptokurtosis curve. Okay, so curve C3 we call it as the leptokurtosis curve. Now see that in this case we have to take beta 2 is bigger than 3. If a beta 2 is bigger than 3 guys, okay, if a beta 2 is bigger than 3, now see that if the value of a beta 2 is bigger than 3, obviously gamma 2 it is bigger than 0. Okay, now take 4 here, 4 minus 3 1 it is bigger than 0. Okay, so we write gamma 2 it is also bigger than 0. Okay, now see that guys, these 3 important points we have here. Okay, kurtosis, which is having 3 points: mesokurtosis, plateau kurtosis, and the leptokurtosis. Okay, need to understand the meaning for these types of kurtosis. Okay, so you will get the question in your university question paper. Figure it out whether the given curve is mesokurtosis, plateau kurtosis, or leptokurtosis. Okay, that you have to find it out there. So it is way easier to find the type of the curves. Okay, it is not that difficult, right? It is one of the easier part here. Okay, So I hope you all have understood this one. In my today's lecture, I explain this part entire to you all. Okay, so we will stop here with these many topics, guys. If you want, you can note it down, draw this figure. Okay, draw this figure. If you want, you can represent C3 as a leptokurtosis, C2 as a platokurtosis, and C1 as a mesokurtosis. Okay, yes. So and take this point, note it down. Okay, prepare it for your END-SEM exam, guys. Okay, I hope you all have understood here in my everything here in my today's lecture. Okay, we covered the important part here. Okay, so we go for solving some of the example, guys, which is mostly important for your END-SEM exam. Okay, so I'll take this example in my next lecture. So till that, we will wait for the next lecture. Okay, yes. So that is here for my today's lecture, guys. I hope you all have understood everything. So thank you everyone. Thank you for my today's lecture.